How's it going, folks? Now today is going to be a very exciting day because you finally get to hear me stop talking about temporary enclosures. New enclosures coming very soon. They're coming very soon because the fact of the matter is the new enclosures are here, which means Project Jungle Build. Stick around while we check out these amazing new enclosures from a brand new sponsorship, a little bit more on that later, and start making some incredible new enclosures for all the rare and uncommon reptiles that we have recently got. Let's get into it. This is gonna be super exciting because Terra wasn't just kind enough to send us one enclosure. Nope, they didn't even stop at 2 enclosures. Just when I thought they were done, they said, Dakota, 3's not enough for you. We think you need 1 more. Right, boys and girls, they sent 4 new enclosures to do Project Jungle builds for all the recent reptiles we got in. No one can see me, let's just... Before we talk about how absolutely fantastic Terra is, let's open these bad boys out, check these backgrounds out, because of course we gotta do the custom backgrounds, and get these things set as a Project Jungle build. Let's get into it. Alrighty, so we got them all laid out, got the backgrounds out, because of course we're gonna be doing our custom backgrounds, and man, I just gotta say, it's been a minute since I've gotten some brand new glass enclosures. These things are so nice, sparkly clean, man. You got this nice looking steel. It does look like they definitely upgraded from the previous versions that I've owned. Previous, I mean, my Terras are somewhere around, I believe the oldest one I own is about 9 to 10 years old, so it definitely looks like they've upgraded. The screen feels a lot heftier than the ones I have, and like this one right here, which is definitely an oldie. But enough of that. Now that we have these things, it's time to be scrapping the background, or escaping the background. For this, we got driftwood, baby. Now, I only had a couple of pieces left from the last one that we did, so we only had about 5. So instead, I bought a whole nother box. So let's go ahead and just... A lot less than I thought was gonna come out of that. Go ahead and organize through some of this. We'll pick some great pieces for each one of these kits, and then we'll start creating the background. Alrighty, 24 hours later, all this stuff is nice and fully cured. Everything is looking fantastic. I think what I'm gonna do for this round is I'm gonna try a little bit of a new method that I have not done before, and that is painting the background myself. We're gonna be doing a dry lock seal for it, so the first 2 layers will be dry locked in, and at that point, I'm going to create my own tint for the dry lock. So it starts out at this gray. I'm pretty much, I guess I'm kind of going for what the backgrounds look right now, black with a brown tint. So a very nice dark background, and then at the end layer, we're gonna be adding some cocoa fiber in there just to add a little bit of texture, give it that roughness of the background itself. So let's go ahead and move over here. I don't want to be doing the dry lock stuff in here. I actually don't like having these cages. It makes my work on the daily basis difficult. So let's move those over there and let's get this process started. Alright, boys and girls, so we've done 2 layers now of the dry lock. Everything is looking nice and great. There are a little bit of gaps and pieces that don't have any sealant. Don't worry, we'll fix that at the end with little post makeup. You guys will understand what I'm talking about later. We're gonna sprinkle on some dry cocoa fiber in that mix, just add a little bit of texture to the background, and after that, and when we wait for seal, we'll be done. After those background enclosures are done, we have to move the spot that they're going to be into, which means this enclosure and this enclosure needs to move. However, the tenant in this one is actually going to be removed and put into a breeding project. That is because I'm trying to prove out 2 tokes at the same time. I believe this one is 100, it's possible het patternless. This one was either the 100% het patternless or the pos het granite. I can't remember which one it was. And then Bert, I also believe when I got him was 100% het patternless. So I'm pretty sure he's het patternless. Not 100% sure on her, which is why she is 50%. That was a bad joke. Anyway, only way to prove it out is to put them together and see what happens. So maybe this season to next season we'll have patternless babies, or maybe we'll just have some more normal babies, but there's only one way to know. See a little bit of her. Here's her big fat tail. I like that she's in this because this is a perfect little thing to put. I see the perfect place for it, so let's get her set up. I'll just put it there for right now, and then once she gets out, I'll take it out so it's not crushing the plants forever. And then, boom, 4 new oh. Don't like that. I'll probably put some like paper or something to block that out. That is not flattering for beautiful enclosures. Pleased overall with how the background came out. I like how it gave it kind of a two-tone, so there's darker and then lighter. I probably should have done it opposite because that would have created a shadow effect, but hey, you learn something new every time you do something you haven't done before. So pretty amazed at how well the cocoa fiber has stuck to the background. That's pretty cool. I'm sure after a few missing, some of it will fall, but it'll at least add a little bit of texture into it as well. However, we are not at the finish line yet. We are just close. Next up is I need to take a razor blade to all my blemishes that I've done, kind of push that back. I've noticed there's a bit of a gap in the side, and that means crickets and then some of these smaller species of anoles and geckos can hide back there. So my next plan is I'm going to stuff the siding with moss to make sure that nothing can get in there. And then lastly, we can start adding our stuff, the substrates, drainage layer, plants, hardscapes, and then we just have to wait for this to grow until they get to go into their new homes. Fast forward, and just like that, we have some nice looking enclosures. Definitely look a lot better. I like how the moss gives it a little bit more of a naturalistic touch. We got to touch up some of that gray area and then get the sides all handled out. Biggest thing was I didn't want the anoles and the feeders to try to get behind the enclosure or just rest on the side for where they would be safe. No feeder will be safe in these bioactive vivariums. Next step is obviously going to be, well, making it bioactive. The first plan on that is going to be adding a drainage layer. We'll be using some of our drainage layer stuff and all of our other materials that we sell over here for bioactive enclosures. So let's go ahead and get the drainage layer, get the substrate set up, and then we can start about the fun stuff, hardscaping and planting these enclosures. Up is going to be the substrate. For this, we'll be using our basic bioactive mix with a mixture of the bio booster just to help get those plants growing a little bit faster so we can get these anoles and day geckos in here as soon as possible. Alrighty, next phase of this, we get to pick out our hardscapes for the anoles and the day gecko. Since it's just such a small species, I really want to utilize a lot of these smaller spiderwood pieces because they twig out a little bit. It's easy to anchor air plants into them, and the anoles can really utilize all these smaller twigs, whereas a larger bodied reptile, gecko, or lizard wouldn't really be able to just because of their thick, and anoles and day geckos are not as thick. Let me go through these, let me see what cool stuff I can find, and let's start putting them up so we can check this out. And these things are already, I love the spiderwood look for this. I think I did it with this one. I think I might put just something right here potentially, just to give it a little bit more depth on this angle. This part feels a little empty, but these two look absolutely fantastic. I think this looks great now with the sloped cork bark flat, but I'm gonna try something else. And then we get to move on to my personal favorite part, choosing the plants for these vivariums. Alrighty, so a couple things I have been saving are going to be number one, these big leafed pothos. This is one where we clip for a plant something like this, so you see how large these leaves are, and we were able to propagate it and get some roots going, so now they're in these little 2-inch pots. This is going to be awesome because I'm create a nice coverage area with this giant leaf. It's going to grow the vivarium out, make it look a little bit more, and then obviously here we're having some little sprouts already come out as well. Nothing on this one yet, but I'm sure in the future it will. I think these are going to be our grand choices for today. We talked about those pothos already. I'm going to be taking some of these polka dot plants because we have a surplus of them and I think they're absolutely gorgeous. A couple of blood leaves because we also have a surplus of them. I love these purple waffle plants. I love how they leaf out. Their branching is going to be great. We've got a few spider plants and a couple of the croton plants as well. So a nice little variety going on for each and every one of these. Let's go back. Let's see if it all works out. And if I need some couple of plants, we'll just have to walk 3 steps and grab some more. Next up, we got to get some leaf litter. Of course, we'll be using, since these are the fancy animals, we'll be using the fancy leaves, the magnolias. I'm going to break these up into smaller pieces so they fit a little bit better in here, and then we get to move on to the final stage. Okay, back over to the plant room to get the final touches. That is going to be some bromeliads and tillandsia. We'll be adding those as air plants, and then finally, we are finished with these absolutely gorgeous enclosures. Can't wait to show you guys, but I got to do this final touching. Give me 1 second, and... Real quick before we continue with this video, I just want to give a huge shout out to today's video sponsor, Terra. If you guys have been in the reptile community for any amount of time, you've probably heard of Terra. They're a mainstream product everywhere with a host of incredible reptile products. Personally, I absolutely love Terra. I've been buying their enclosures ever since I started keeping reptiles. The first reptile I ever got was Rex the Bearded Dragon, and he was in a 36 by 18 by 18 by Terra. Crested Gecko started out in an 18 by 24 with Terra. 90% of my front opening enclosures are going to be exo, and the only reason why they're not is because the other enclosures were just given to me. I've actually never bought a glass front opening that wasn't by them. A few key reasons for that. Number one, I absolutely love the double doors, especially having a few of the ones that have just the single opening of the door with it. It makes things a little bit difficult. If you have stuff like a crested gecko or anything like that, it's not that hard, but if you're keeping things like tokay geckos, day geckos, anything that's more for display purpose and a little bit flighty, having half the door only open so you have this much shield when an animal's bopping around trying to escape is incredibly useful. The point of that is definitely going to be my standing eye geckos, the standings day gecko. I cannot tell you how many times I'm missing the enclosure, watering the plants, changing the food bowl. Those guys see me open the door and it's bam, 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 bam. However, because I only have to open half the door, I'm able to have a good shield, and I have yet to have any of them escape me. because of that. I ran out of air. You guys got to see the brand new enclosures today. They are sleek, beautiful, great glass. Glass makes absolutely amazing display just because you have the 3 sides for it. It's definitely what I love, and like I mentioned, if there's a glass enclosure front opening style I'm gonna go with, it is going to be enclosures. If you guys want to check out some glass enclosures by enclosures or the variety of other products that they have, I'll have a link right down in the description. Your boy does not get a cutback. I just want to shout them out because they're an amazing company. Thank you guys so much. Let's get back into the video. Got it, boys and girls. It's the next day now. I was very tired. I didn't think this was going to take the entire day to do, but I am very happy with how it came out. Wish I could have gotten the glass, the dry lock off the glass a little bit more, but my god, dude, my hands at the end were like this. I couldn't scrape any more off. And the moss covers most of it, so it's really not that big of a deal. I absolutely love how these came out. They all look incredibly gorgeous. I don't know which one's my favorite yet. They all just individually look fantastic. All in all, I'm very proud with how these came out. And like I mentioned, we are going to give these about 4 to 6 weeks to cycle. I want them to go through the entire bioactive cycle without an animal in it. We have the little saran wrap up here to boost that humidity. That'll boost the plant growth, the fauna growth, everything like that. And then like I mentioned, in those 4 to 6 weeks, this thing will be completely ready to go, and then at that point we'll be putting in the Macuba, Marmoratus, the green anole pair, and then lastly the lineatus. Absolutely fantastic. Cannot wait for that, but hey, patience is a virtue, and well, we're gonna have to have some patience and wait for everything to grow and settle in before these guys get paired in their new incredible setups. As always, boys and girls, if that wasn't enough content for you, here's another bioactive build we did, or here's a little Project Jungle playlist of all the builds we have ever done over here at Dakota Blue Exotics. And as always, thank you so much for taking the time of your day to follow us over here at Dakota Blue Exotics. I will see you guys next time, but until then, goodbye.